Hi, welcome to a March Words Wednesday. Am I still reading Robert Lowell? Why, yes I am. It will never end. Actually, it'll end in very soon, I promise. I am reading. But I'm going to read a poem called Plane Ticket. And then I have a very special surprise for you. So this is Plane Ticket. A virus and its hash of knobby aches. More than ever, flying seems too lofty. The season unlucky for visiting New York, for telephoning kisses transatlantic. The London damp comes in. It smells so fertile, trees grow in my room. I read Ford's saddest story, his triangle I read as his student in Nashville. Things that change us only change a fraction. 25 years of marriage, a book of life, a choice of endings. I have my round-trip ticket. After 50, so much joy has come. I hardly want to hide my nakedness. The shine and stiffness of a new suit, a feeling, not wholly happy, of having been reborn. So that is, it's not a super uplifting poem, but I'm smiling because we have a special guest here today. And this is Ian. He's
Hello.
so pleased to be here.
Super pleased.
I plied him with a sirloin steak and a little wine, and that's why we're here. So I'm just going to talk, and then maybe he'll chime in, or maybe he'll just sort of stare at you awkwardly and grimace, showing me he really doesn't want to be here, but...
Take it away.
Okay, thanks. He wrote this. It's in part of Robert Lowell's book Dolphin, which I think it was the second to last book he ever wrote, and it was towards the end of his life. And as you see in the poem, he was a 50-year-old. He was after 50. And I think what I love so much about this poem is its vulnerability. As I've gone through all his work, a lot of his poems sort of hide their heart behind a lot of language, or he'll put like a whole poem in quotes to kind of distance himself from it. Like, I don't know who's saying this, it's not me, but even as he's a very confessional poet, so it's an interesting dynamic. But I love when he says, after 50, so much joy has come, I hardly want to hide my nakedness. The shine and stiffness of a new suit, a feeling not wholly happy of having been reborn. I think that's such a complicated feeling. I think I think there he's kind of wrestling with that vulnerability. I think that's like him saying, like, it's not really that comfortable. It's not necessarily, a great feeling. And also, he's taking a transatlantic flight in this poem from, London to New York, or right before he's about to take the flight. And there's a lot of insecurity with that transition and what he'll find in both places. Does he want to go to begin with? And I think that's something, a lot of us can relate to as we fly to see, our loved ones, or, different people in our lives. There's that kind of anxiety, what will it be like? And how do I show the people, my people, who I am now, and that I've kind of done a little changing. What did you think when you read this poem?
Well...
Ooh.
Oh, shit, this whole book
It's also falling apart.
Yeah, awesome. I thought that this poem was sort of... I liked it, but I found it a little bit oblique.
Literally, those were his first words after read it. I was like, this is the
poem
we'll be working on. He's like, this is really oblique.
But it's oblique in a way that appeals to me. Like that ending part that you read, I don't know what it means. Or the way it jumps from Ford. I read Ford's saddest story, his triangle I read as his student in Nashville, Things That Change Us Only Change a Fraction, 25 Years of Marriage, A Book of Life, A Choice of Endings. I don't know why it's making those jumps, but it feels right, and it feels like it makes sense, and it sort of opens the poem up in a way. I will say my first reaction to this poem, because I have been sick recently, was a virus and its hash of knobby aches, which was how I felt for like 2 weeks. And
Ian Bullitt, get it.
Very funny. Yeah.
I love like a choice of endings, you know, like he says, things that change us only change a fraction, you know, like who you are, kind of, things change, the circumstances of your life change, but you kind of, who you are sort of stays the same through a lot of these things, even as you transform in some other ways. So like 25 Years of Marriage, A Book of Life, A Choice of Endings, and I think there he's saying, like, did I ever even have a choice? Kind of, because I'm still the person I have always been, and like I've been compelled to do or be this person.
Yeah, sort of. It's this illusion of a choice of endings, but you're the same person you've always been. It hasn't changed you that much. Even says it. On a purely detail level, and this is like prose writer talking. The London damp comes in. It smells so fertile. Trees grow in my room.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful image. And so is, where is it? The shine and stiffness of a new suit. Oh, man, that's great.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, he's so good with dropping those little physical details, those comparisons that are very evocative into this sort of, I found, slippery poem.
Yeah, I think that's how he brings it down to earth a little. And, you know, he has his moments of humor, too. Like, the London damp comes in, it smells so fertile, trees grow in my room. You know, I mean, like, it's kind of funny. He has a little tongue-in-cheek thing going there that sort of saves the poem from being a total downer. But the weird thing about this poem is that it's, like, it's not a happy poem, but it's not, especially when you read some of his other work, not a totally depressing poem, either. You know? Do you not agree? Do you think it's kind of 99% depressing?
No, I don't. I agree with you. I think it acknowledges the depressing stuff, I think. You know, I mean, knowing a little bit about his biography and seeing that line, 25 Years of Marriage, A Book of Life, I'm like, ew, Robert Lowell. I think it acknowledges that stuff, but it's also, like, celebratory. After 50, so much joy has come, I hardly want to hide my nakedness. A feeling not wholly happy of having been reborn. It's mixed.
Yeah.
In a really nice way.
Yeah. So what's your verdict? If you had to give this poem a 1 out of 10, what would you give it? 10 being the best poem you've ever read.
10 being the best poem.
What's the
5?
best poem you've ever read?
I don't know.
Okay.
What's 5? Maybe some John Anderson. I like John Anderson a lot.
Okay, so that would be 10?
Okay, maybe that Milky Way poem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Milky Way by John Anderson.
What's
Amazing
5?
poem, you gotta read it. I don't know. 5 is like Emily Dickinson. I mean, that's going to be a very unpopular opinion, but I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And 1 is like, you know, when you're 16 and you're writing your journal and you're like, I have so many feelings.
1 is my poetry.
Oh.
I would give this. I do really like this poem. I would give this an 8. What would you give it?
I don't know. I'd give it like a 7.
Why? Why lower than, I'm curious.
I think because...
Also, this feels really weird, like rating a poem 1 out of 10 sort of defeats the whole purpose of poetry.
Yeah, that's true.
But I like that.
PSA. We want you to know that. Don't write poetry.
It's bad. Don't think about poetry in this way.
I don't know. It's just like a vibe I get, 7. Because I think it's not like... When I think about some of the best ones I've ever read, like I go back to May 1937 by Sharon Olds, or, like poem where I'm like, oh my god, how does this exist? It totally, like, it's not like that for me. And so I think 8's a little too close, but 7's like far down enough, but close enough to that upper echelon that I'm like, because some of Robert Lowell's poems are like 8s or 9s or 10s to me, but not this one. But it's still like a solid, make you think, make you drink poem.
Oh, Jesus.
And on that note, we're signing off. Thanks for coming to Words Wednesday. Ian is so happy he could be here. He's so happy he could be here.
I'm so happy.
He's so happy. Bye, guys. Have a good week.